guys, Rob1 here, coming at you with possibly one of the greatest or one of the worst cards ever made in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's what we're going to be discussing today because, oh boy, the free tactical talents, this card right here, this card could potentially be one of the worst designed cards in the game, but potentially at the same time, one of the best cards in the game. And I can't believe Konami made a card like this. Like, this card is literally a tactical sentry, change of heart, and pot of greed in a single card. Now, let's read its effect so I can actually talk about this card in depth, and we can talk about its benefits, the reasons it shouldn't have been made, the reasons it should have been made, all of that, all of stuff and the like of that. So, free tactical talents is a normal spell card that you can only activate once per turn, and to activate it, your opponent first has to activate a monster effect in your main phase. So, if your opponent activated a monster effect, say it be a negate, a monster-based hand trap, so Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, Effect Veiler, anything like that, you can activate this card. If it's evenly matched, well, evenly matched wouldn't be able to activate. If it's imperm or anything along those lines, that is an actual trap, no go. You are able to activate this card. Now, what does this card do based on what I've just told you? First effect, if your opponent has activated a monster effect in the main phase, you get to draw 2 cards. Pot of Greed in an effect. Hey, that's pretty good. Second effect, take control of 1 monster your opponent controls. What are we gonna do with that? Oh, that's a nice negate board you got there. Give me that, Appaloosa. And third, you get to look at your opponent's hand and force them to put a card back into their deck, such as Forceful Sentry's effect. Who knew having Pot of Greed, Change of Heart, and Forceful Sentry in your hand in one card was such a good design? Who knew this kind of card would be so... Konami, you've really... Pat on the back. No, you don't get a pat on the back. This card is terrible. Honestly, this card is possibly going to be one of the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever made, but also one of the worst cards made in the game. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, why it's a good card in the game. Now, this card literally forces the game to be played in a different way. Such as cards like Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs, Lightning Storm, and Evenly Matched. This card forces you to play in an entirely different way to what you would have once played to. Because cards like Ash Blossom, when they first came out, when Ash first came out, you always had to suspect that your opponent had an Ash, and because of that, you had to be kind of careful with your plays. So that forced you to play differently. When Evenly Matched came out, you had to purposely end on a board that would possibly have 1 or 2 negates, and you'd always have to play around the possibility of your opponent having that one evenly matched to stop you from playing the game. Such as in Spyro formats, they normally let you play 1 or 2 cards, and then if they didn't activate the evenly matched, they would negate the third. But then again, if they didn't, they would wait until an evenly matched, or until you had a card on the board to stop you from activating the evenly matched. But free tactical talents doesn't care about that. This card is literally better than those 2 cards and all. And there's a specific reason for this. Because, yes, this card depends on your opponents very heavily, such as Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs and Evenly Matched. But in today's current age, this card is so much easier to use. In a game where we see hand traps everywhere, Nibiru, Ash Blossom, Veiler at times, Ghost Ogre, Drone Lockbird. A card like this can always be utilized in the game right now. If you're going second, this card can be used with cards when your opponent activates an Appaloosa effect, a Boral Savage effect, a Pendulum effect that says negate. This card doesn't care. And that's the good thing with this card. It makes your opponent have to play around certain things like this. Because say you wanted to end on that negate board. That negate board that ends on Boral Savage. Or say you're playing Pendulums instead. Say you wanted to end on a negate board that ends on like the Endymion, Appaloosa, Jackal King. And they activate a spell. You use the Mighty Master of Magic to negate that. Well, now they can just literally be like, haha. Free tactical talents, I'm gonna take your Appaloosa because it doesn't target anyway, so now I'm gonna attack your Jackal King, and now you got no negate, so I'm just gonna go off. And that's this kind of card's thing. This card makes the gameplay different, and that's the good part. It makes everybody have to play different, because you're going to have to think more, oh, do I want to negate this specific effect? Do I want to use this specific hand trap here? Because there are multiple things this card loses out to. Now, obviously, this card isn't good against every deck in the game, because there are multiple decks that don't play monster effects during your standby phase, during your main phase, such as trap-based decks and all of that stuff, and all of that good stuff. But nonetheless, the majority of the game is focused on effect monsters. And because of that, this card is actually really broken. But why is a card like this bad in the game, though? Why is something like this bad? Well, we've talked about the good side, about how you can use it under any monster effect, and there's more about it being good as well, so your opponent negs themselves under like a Dimension Shifter, Nibiru, anything along those lines that's hand trap. Well, you can draw 2 cards to get yourself back in the game, and you could look at your opponent's hand and literally say, go away to that good card in your hand, that one-off that says you win the game. That's the good parts of this card. This card literally says, your opponent stopped you from playing, well, I'm just going to play this different way, or I'm going to get more options to play the game. That's a good thing about the card. But there are also multiple bad things about this card that are in the game as well. First of all, it changes the game completely. And I know that's a good thing as well, but say you're playing the game and your opponent activates 3 tactical talents. Then that means, oh, I've used my one hand trap to stop this card, to try and stop you from playing the game. But now this one card says, oh, I can play the game for free now. Like, you've used a way to stop them, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, they have this one miracle card to come back out of nowhere. And that's the problem. You can have any way to play the game you want. But if you have this one card, this card literally says, oh, sure, I can play the game. I can try and stop you from playing the game, trying to make your insane negate board. But if you've got a card like this, your insane negate board still could probably happen, because you could either Pot of Greed, you could make a couple of negates with them only having 2 cards left in hand, well, no, 4 cards left in hand on their turn, and having like 2 negates and 4 cards left in your hand, that can sometimes be very game-ending at times, and that's a problem with this card. This card can literally say, oh, I've tried to stop you from making your insane board, but at the same time, I have this card that says I can come back from that negate and just make the insane board anyway and stop you from playing the game. Which is a problem with this card. This is a card that literally says, sure, I can come back out of any situation, and that's great. But if you're going to try and stop me, well, I'm just not going to care. Like that's a problem with this card. A card that says I'm not going to care if you stop me isn't good. It's not good for the game. But at the same time, this card is really good because, again, it says you can come back. Like, it's a poorly balanced designed card because it says, oh, I'm either going to steal your monster, draw cards, or just put a card from your hand back into the deck. But at the same time, even though it is a bullcrap card like that, it's something that lets you come back into the game. And that it's looking up 2 sides of the coin. It getting used against you, you're going to be like, oh great, you only won because you had the 3 tactical talents. But then you using yourself, going first or second, right, I can now play the game because I've been able to use this card. And that's what stuff like this kind of says. This card is one of those cards that can be really good for the game. It's a card that personally I feel like is really good for the game because it lets you play the game. It lets you come back from that one hand trap that said you can stop your entire board. It lets you come back from that negate board that said, oh, I've negated your one spell and trap card now and I have all these monster negates. Haha. Well, now I can just steal your monster negates and be like, well, I don't care. I've now got your negates and now do I look like I give a damn? But like it's stuff like this that really really does make me think about the game. Like, it's a really good design card, but at the same time, it's a poorly designed card. And there's been other cards like this in the game that have had banned effects before. One is the Flip Effect Pot Monster, or a Jar Monster that literally had Pot of Greed's effect, Raigeki, all of these effects based in it. And there's also cards like Lightning Storm that has Raigeki and I think it was Lightning Break or something. I forgot. Lightning Vortex, it built into it. And it's not a new thing, seeing banned effects being put in other cards, but having a card that has 3 banned effects in one? I don't know. It's something that's a really good card. It's a really well-designed card, being that it's something that can help you come back, and it will change the way people play the game. Trust me. Because now, with this card, I can see people playing less cards like Ash Blossom Enjoyers, Springs, Nibiru, stuff like these that say, well, now this card lets me come back. And focusing more on stuff like Impermanence, Evenly Matched, stuff that don't use monster effects. And that's what I can see this card do. It's a game-changing card, such as cards like Ash Blossom Enjoyers, Springs, Evenly Matched, Impermanence in a way as well. And and Lightning Storm. It's a card that will change the way you play the game. And that's something I like about it, but at the same time, even though it can let you play the game, it will also show the bad side of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where, well, you've done something to try and stop me, well, I'm just going to continue playing and make my bullcrap end board anyway. But guys, that's my thoughts on Free Tactical Sentry. It's a really good card. It's something that I think everybody should have at free. This card is insane, being that you've been hand-trapped once, or your opponent has a board of negates and they can't stop this one negate, this one card, you just win the game there. It's something like that, and I really think it's a really cool card. So, guys, please tell me what you think of this video, though. Tell me what you think of this card in particular, because this card is actually really good and definitely has a lot of potential. Please tell me your thoughts in the comment section below about it. If you like the video, don't forget to press the like button. If you want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh! Content like this, don't forget to say that in the comment section below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Robot1 signing out. Tactical Talents, man. 3 banned cards in 1. Konami. Konami.